Welcome to the Amazing Authorities Podcast, where game changers, visionaries, and category leaders share how they built their brands, platforms, and global influence. Your host is Mitch Carson, international speaker, media strategist, and creator of the Instant Authority System. If you're ready to learn from those who've done it and want to become the go-to expert in your space, you're in the right place.
Michele, you're an expert in the area of having new or first-time authors and sometimes repeat authors navigate the publishing route because it has changed. As I shared before we began this conversation today, I'm published with John Wiley & Sons back in 2008. And oh my gosh, has the publishing world turned upside down. What would you say has changed from then till now?
In a word, everything.
Okay. That's a good word. I can relate to that. Nothing's the same, but it's still publishing.
The only thing that's the same is that books are the end product of the process, but everything else up until that has, and also hasn't changed, that authors write manuscripts and they wind up with a book. But everything in between those two options is completely different now.
And what have you noticed about Amazon? I mean, it was a smaller outfit that came out of a small desk in an operation with Jeff Bezos to now where he just celebrated a big wedding. I think we saw it in social media, spending $50 million with an A-list group. They call themselves A-listers. I don't agree with that term. It's just people with a lot of publicity.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Amazon may have started small, but it actually, of course, not only got bigger, but it revolutionized the publishing industry.
Correct.
And because, where do I start? There's so many models for publishing now that people can explore. But basically what Amazon did is it created an earthquake in the publishing world by making distribution available to everyone. No longer did an author have to go through a publisher to achieve distribution and sell books to the public. So that was, of course, a tidal wave in the publishing industry, and it launched what we now think of today as self-publishing. And that was probably around 2000, maybe 1995 to 2000. But since then, everyone seems to have forgotten that it's not necessary to use a publisher. And so we're kind of going backwards a little bit and not always to the advantage of the authors. So that's really what I like to talk about. My company came into existence in 2001, and we've been helping independent authors ever since then to publish according to the original self-publishing model, the way it was originally intended.
Well, tell us what that means when you say, because let's assume somebody hasn't written a book yet. You know, I've written a few and been out there and understand it in the old arena and now the newer arena. But someone who's brand new, what do they need to know? And explain self-publishing. You say they revolutionized it or dropped the bomb on the old model.
They sure did. Well, the old model is traditional publishing. We're all familiar with that. And under that model, the author pays nothing. The publisher invests in the editorial and design experts to produce the book. They manage the process. They take care of setting up distribution. And the publisher recoups that investment by keeping most of the revenue from sales and paying the author a small royalty, usually about $1 a book, somewhere in that neighborhood. Today's publishers charge the author to produce the book, and they also take money out of their pocket when the book is sold, and that doesn't work out too well for authors. So what's lost in all the noise is the third option, but it's actually an option that has existed since the beginning of self-publishing, and that is author services companies like mine that work for the author, provide the services the author needs, the very same services that a publisher provides. But we don't take any of the author's revenue when a book is sold. The author invests in the services and gets all of the revenue from sales when a book is sold. And that can work out to usually $6 to $8 a book, depending on the options that are chosen. It gets a little technical. But that's,
so other than Amazon,
basically...
so other than Amazon, where can someone sell their books?
Well, the way we do it, we set authors up on two platforms, KDP, which is owned by Amazon, and IngramSpark, which is the oldest book distributor wholesaler in the world. They've been in business for 100 years. And by using both of those platforms together, authors can get worldwide distribution, including to physical bookstores, libraries, and so forth, for the lowest price.
And can they do that if they're part of the KDP universe? Do they have exclusive control if you're up there for Kindle Unlimited, or can they certainly use IngramSpark as well?
You can use KDP and IngramSpark together. Of course, Amazon makes it complicated when it comes to ebooks. If you want to use Kindle Unlimited, then you cannot distribute your ebook anywhere else. That gives KDP an exclusive. I don't recommend that. I think authors should distribute to all platforms everywhere to get the greatest exposure, but it's an option if authors do want to give Amazon the exclusive, they'll make more money on their ebook there. But we do recommend using both platforms together because Amazon takes 40% of the cover price right off the top as their commission. And most of your sales are going to come from Amazon. But Amazon only distributes to Amazon channels worldwide. If you want to distribute to Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, have a shot at getting into libraries and physical bookstores, then you need IngramSpark, which is best for what they call the expanded distribution network. And the expanded network requires a 55% discount, wholesale discount. And so to our way of thinking, there's no reason to pay 55% to distribute your book everywhere when Amazon will take 40%. So you use IngramSpark for what IngramSpark does best, and you use KDP for what Amazon does best.
So Amazon does not distribute at all to libraries?
No.
Okay.
Libraries, bookstores, other distributors all purchase from their Ingram account.
Got it.
Ingram was first. Amazon is the newcomer on the block. But Amazon, of course, takes care of Amazon.
Right. So if someone wants to get into Barnes & Noble, and it used to be Borders some years ago, but if they want to get into Barnes & Noble, which is the physical element, and some of the other worldwide, let's say in Asia where I live, there's Kinokuniya, which is out of Japan, and they're in many of the Southeast Asia markets, which is a big physical book retailer. IngramSpark handles all that for the authors, correct?
IngramSpark distributes internationally to physical bookstores worldwide, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, any place that wants to pick up their feed. Walmart, for example, will do that. Any place that books are sold.
That's great. You know, when I came out with my first published book, meaning big New York publisher, was John Wiley and Sons. I think they're in New Jersey, actually, but we say New York publisher. They sold my book through Barnes & Noble and Borders back then. I think Borders was still around before their doors shuttered. And then I got paid $10,000 as an upfront payment. I spent 7 of that on a great editor. So there are no errors in my book, called The Silent Salesman, MEN. Then I got a call after about 3 months from the publisher, John Wiley, saying, Germany wants to pick up your book. And a check came in the mail for about $3,000, something like that, because they sold the rights through Ingram. This is years ago. And all of a sudden I was sold, and I have a different book in German. I can't read it. It's in a foreign language to me, but it's cool to talk about. So how does someone go and get into that? I mean, that was then, they did all the work for me, exactly as you described. That was the former model. And this was 2006. Or no, 2008. How does someone get into the foreign markets today?
That's a whole different line of work, and that requires a specialist. We don't do much with that. But there's companies, of course, that can help you secure foreign rights. It's technical, and it has some, there's a lot of imposters in the market, so you have to be careful with it. I would definitely work with someone who knows what they're doing there.
All right. So that's a different game entirely. All right.
Yeah.
So how important is the design of the cover?
It's absolutely critical. If you think about it, when you browse books online or anywhere else, the first thing you see is the cover. So that cover has to, in about 3 to 5 seconds, make you stop, make you decide in a few seconds whether or not you're interested in that book. And it has to make you want to turn over the cover or read the description and find out more about the book. So that's a really big task. Cover design is critical.
So a book cover, would you say that's parallel to the thumbnail for YouTube videos? Just like that, capturing someone's attention before they click?
Absolutely. 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 For a nonfiction book, the cover has to inform, right? You've got a few seconds to let people know what's inside the book and prompt them to read more about it. Fiction is more visual. Yeah, you have to capture their attention and make them think to themselves, oh, this looks like a good story. The title and the visual work together.
Well, and you mentioned fiction because when I think of fiction, yeah, the artwork is so important because it draws you into the story. And I think
Mhm.
about some of these love or romance novels, and these very attractive illustrations or pictures of a man and a woman embraced in something sultry to draw you in. So the intrigue is there.
Well, that's kind of interesting that you bring that up because in with romances, that's what the romance audience is looking for. That's what they expect to see, and so
Right.
the publishers are giving them exactly what they expect to see. Usually in book design, the rule, the unspoken rule, is that you don't show people on the cover because everyone that you show automatically excludes everyone else. So you do try to avoid that. You may notice, for example, on thriller covers, usually the main character is in shadow, turned away from the audience. You let the audience use their imagination as to what the protagonist looks like because you don't want to turn them off in any way.
Well, I think of one of the most prolific nonfiction or fiction series uh, was Lord of the Rings,
Mhm.
and that cover versus what was the one with J.K. Rowling?
Oh, the
Yes. Sorry, Michelle.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter series. Yeah, those are two good examples. And then I'd love to hear about your thoughts on those two.
Oh, well, I have to be honest with you. I don't have much time to do my own reading. I'm always working on authors'
Sure.
books.
No, I didn't mean the read. I've not read either of those books
Yeah, yeah,
myself. I've watched a couple of the movies in each genre just for checkout
yeah.
time. I read all the time as well. I don't have time to read that, and I'm not a fiction reader too much. I'm
Well,
referring to the design, the
well,
design.
those covers are exactly right. And I have to tell you, as a book designer, it was probably an accident before anybody ever thought about them becoming a series. A look and feel was developed, usually in collaboration with the author as well. And a style was developed. And once that style is developed and successful, then they're going to keep doing it over and over again for all the follow-on books.
Well, let's talk nonfiction then. It's one of the biggest or most successful nonfiction series was written by Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen, The Chicken Soup. What did they do right, and what would you have changed about their success track?
Oh, that's a big question. I'm familiar with those covers, actually know the designer who did them.
Uh-huh.
And
Obviously a good job.
obviously they worked, right? But there's a lot of misinformation about covers too. The cover is important to get people's attention, but I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's responsible for the success of a book. When you've got successful series like we're talking about, the content of the book is what is making people go back for more and tell their friends and write good reviews. So, cover doesn't make success. A cover just brings attention.
Sure, and it causes someone to open up and look inside.
Exactly. Exactly. And then when they like the book, then of course they tell everybody they know. But you have to write a good book. It's not just a matter of creating a good cover and wrapping it around poor content. You don't want to ever do that.
Okay, I'm going to bring us both back in time because I think being a mature people here, you're going to remember this book because I remember seeing her on TV years ago. She was a New York Times best-selling author, and she wrote a book, What a Man Needs to What a Man Knows About a Woman, was essentially the message, and inside the book was blank.
Well,
And
that's probably true to a degree.
well, yeah, it is, and we can laugh about it, but that's cover design and title. And then when you open it up, a man knows nothing about a woman. Oh,
And
isn't that true?
It's a great title, right? Because who wouldn't stop at that title and say, "Oh, that sounds interesting."
And it
Both men
became a
and
number
women.
one gift at Christmas one year.
I can believe it.
Yeah, I remember that story. And one of the other big books based on now let's talk about the title itself, Chicken Soup for the Soul. But then there was another one that became, I think he sold 15 million copies of this. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
He was from Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Title
Dr.
is
John
also
Gray. Yeah.
yes. Title is also incredibly important, and those titles, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Men Are from Mars, What a Man Knows About a Woman. Those are a title can be quirky as long as you explain it, and those are quirky. Those make you stop right away. They make you say to yourself, "Tell me more," and that's what a title should do.
Yeah. When I saw Men Are from Mars, Women Are from Venus, I said, this is the most perfect title I've ever read, because that explains the relationship. I'm sure it goes back since the beginning of mankind. I mean, we're wired differently. It's
Yes.
so true. And that drew me in. And I ended up reading the book so many years ago. And I thought, and it was well written. I think, like what you said, the title drew me in, had to be quality, and it was well written. And that,
Mhm.
and that evidenced, and it was interesting because he was married to Marion Williamson, who had been divorced 4 times. And I don't know what number he was in the process.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But a title is definitely important.
and tell us about what your company provides.
Okay, like I said, we provide all the services that a publisher would: editorial design, interior design and typesetting, which is being forgotten in today's world, ebook formatting, proofreading, everything. And we help the authors. Our crucial difference is to help the authors upload books to their print-on-demand accounts that are opened up in their name, so that when a book sells, they get the sales reports, they get the bank deposits directly to their bank account, and nobody else, not us, not anybody else, is in the middle of that process. When authors work with a publisher, the files are uploaded to the publisher's accounts, print-on-demand accounts. The publisher gets the sales reports, the publisher gets the bank deposit, and usually pays the author a significantly less amount than what they received when a book was sold.
Print on demand, of course, came into effect through Amazon. At least or they were maybe one of the early pioneers. Maybe there was somebody else that I'm not aware of. So you help authors get their publication ready for print, distribute to Ingram, and probably up at Amazon because they're the big gorilla, but not Kindle Unlimited. Also, you help them with their book site, and then help how to conduct commerce for their book and keep it.
Yeah, we've expanded our services over the years, to offer more than just that core package of services. But that's what most people order and need the most help with. So, if authors go online, they're going to find all kinds of do-it-yourself advice and all kinds of advice to use templates and so forth. And that's fine if you're publishing for a hobby. But if you're hoping that your book is going to sell and you want to consider it a business, you do need higher level services than that.
And what does a book lead people into? How do they benefit from becoming a published author?
Well, I'll be upfront about it. It's difficult to make a lot of money in retail sales. You have to create a really big marketing push to do that, and even then, it might not be successful. But the people who do the best, in my experience with writing a book, are business people, entrepreneurs, consultants, speakers, that kind of thing, because they use the book to support their business, or they use the book to promote their business, almost like a business card. It tells people about what the person does, what the author does, and how they can help. And so, you know, social media updates disappear in a second or two. Nobody reads blogs anymore, I don't think. So a book is, even if it's given away, can generate tons of business for a business person.
And are you a fan when they do upload to have an audiobook today, or has it not justified the cost of, let's say, paying somebody to read your book for you?
Well, audiobooks are selling very well, so it's something that can and should be considered. A human narrator, a trained narrator, can be pretty expensive, you know, thousands of dollars to do that. I will always advocate for the human narrator, at least in today's world, because AI narration is just not there yet. Maybe someday it will be. I don't know, but you know, AI is fine for short little bursts of text. I think it would get pretty annoying to try to have to listen to that for any length of time if you're reading a book or trying to access a book.
And is it part of your service? Do you have that handle for a new author? Or is
Yeah,
the audiobook, okay, so somebody will
yeah,
read it for them? Or do you
yeah.
encourage the author to read it him or herself?
I don't encourage the author to read it themselves unless they have at least some training in narration, because it's a unique skill. You know, professional narrators know how to breathe, how to pace themselves, how to put emotion into the text when that's called for. Authors typically are not trained in that, and so they don't do as good of a job. If you're going to put out an audiobook, my way of thinking is the last thing you want to do is annoy people. You want,
Okay.
you know, because then they're going to get up, they're going to post a bad review, they're going to say they didn't like the book. Well, it may not be that they didn't like the book, it may be just that the voice annoyed them.
Yeah. And did you start as a designer? Is that your background? Okay. So tell me, what
Yes.
was your personal evolution?
You mean to become a business owner?
Well, to do what you do today, you have expanded services.
Yeah.
What was your foot in the door?
I can credit our customers for that, because they were asking for more services than I could provide myself. And it just didn't seem sensible to me to say no. So I hired one person at a time to add to the team, and then it just over time grew. And so now I guess you could call us an agency, a book project management firm, so we can handle everything for the author.
No, but what I'm saying, how did you get into this field? All right, you grew up, you graduated high school, presumably, and then went on from there. How did you jump into this arena? Because it's highly specialized.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was an accident. I went to school in New York for advertising design. It was a 2-year program.
Okay.
Fully expected to go work for an ad agency, but Crown Publishers in New York was the first company that offered me a job, so I took it.
And then worked as a book cover designer. Was that your original entree into?
Yeah. Crown was a baby publisher at that time, and so it was kind of interesting. We did album covers, we did catalogs, we did book covers. We in those days you used to cut and paste up book interiors. There were no computers, so
Mechanicals.
mechanicals. That's right. We used to do that for the book interiors as well. So I got a little bit of experience in everything, and I decided I loved publishing, and so I stayed there.
Okay. And then when did you break off on your own?
I went to my husband at the time and I moved to Phoenix, Arizona in 1976.
Uh-huh.
And we were young and uninformed, and so we expected to be able to find a job as easily in Phoenix as we could in New York, and that didn't turn out to be the case. We both worked for minimum wage for a very long time and got sick of that, and so we opened a typesetting business. And that lasted for 13 years until Steve Jobs put all typesetting businesses in the world out of business with the Macintosh.
Yes, yes, I know. I remember all this. I remember working with mechanicals because I was in the screen printing business, and
Mhm.
that was how we printed. Now it's all digital, And it all changed, but it used to be with the vellums, each color layer on top, and it was great training. So,
Yeah.
but today it's so much faster and easier. Man, it's evolved.
It is. It is. And you don't have to worry about making things straight anymore. The computer does that automatically.
Yeah, you had to use a lot of eyeballs and straight edge rulers,
Mhm.
to do that. Editing. Talk to me about the importance of editing, or should someone just use Grammarly?
Oh no. Grammarly is a good start to find the just pure grammatical errors that everyone overlooks. Grammarly is not an editor. It's not. It doesn't have human sensibilities, and it's frequently wrong. Right. So once an author gets the manuscript into the best shape they think that they can accomplish, then it's time to bring in an experienced book editor who will go through it with a fine-tooth comb and find all the things that we can't see in our own writing. It's absolutely essential.
I would agree, because
Yeah.
even using Chat GPT, it is limited, and using
Hmm.
words that sound like AI. I mean, it is a time saver, and I explain it as a tool, but it is only a tool. But a
Yep.
tool needs, a carpenter uses tools all day long. He's pounding, but it's ultimately up to his eyeball, or her eyeball in this case, to make sure that the nail is straight.
Oh, I hope that there's no substitute for human creativity.
That's true.
No. I think
And
we're at the beginning of AI now, so everybody's enthusiastic, but I think there will always be a place for human creativity.
what do you think about the length of a book today? Like, for
They're
example,
shorter.
yeah, and is that because that's what the market wants, or does it set up for a series?
Well, I think, no, I think the internet has trained us to expect information in short chunks.
Hmm.
Nobody wants to read a 700 or 800 page novel anymore, or very few people. So books have gotten smaller over the years. Now the typical book is 50,000 words, 150 to 200 pages.
Okay, in the nonfiction arena.
In let's call it popular nonfiction, right? I mean, we just finished an 850-page biography of Winston Churchill. So those books still exist for the people who really want to delve deeply into some subject, but the general public is not looking for that. They're looking for quick, concise information to solve a particular problem.
Got it. So, Michele, do you ghostwrite books for people, or do you guide them through the writing process?
No, we don't get involved in the writing process. We start when the manuscript is complete. But if an author needs a writing coach or a ghostwriter, I have a network and I can refer them.
Okay, so you take their finished product and then buff it, make it shine,
Hmm.
polished, and then bring it to the market. Okay.
Correct.
And do you recommend publicity for them after? Is that part of your deliverable?
Not publicity. Well, some books are candidates for publicity, something that everyone in the general public would gravitate to, like A Cure for Cancer, let's say. But not every book is a candidate for publicity. Every book can be marketed. And so we have some do-it-yourself services that authors can utilize to train themselves to market their own books. And I also recommend marketers who are specialists in that and who can help the author.
How about using television and radio and other podcasts?
Podcasts are probably a great way to promote a book. TV and radio get pretty expensive.
They can be. And is
Yeah.
it good for credibility to use those platforms?
Well, the author can't decide to get on TV or radio. The radio and TV stations have to accept you. You can pitch them, and that's what publicity is for. But it doesn't mean you're going to be accepted. The stations are the final judge as to whether or not they think whatever you're saying will interest their audience.
Got it. Well, how do people get in touch with you, Michele? Because you've
Okay,
obviously,
hmm? They
yeah,
can
because
find out everything about us at 1106design.com.
1106 design, no S.
That's right, singular.
So yeah,
Right.
okay, .com.
And
Well,
and
great.
when they go there, if they want to, they can download my free book called Publish Like the Pros.
Ah,
And
awesome.
just a quick 88 pages that just gives a summary of what we think self-publishing should be.
Awesome. Well, you've been a great guest with a wealth of information and shared the evolution that has taken place and revolution that's taken place in the publishing arena. And where do you see it going 5 years from now, if you were to predict, if you had a crystal ball?
I have no idea. I think I've heard a lot of predictions over the years. People used to predict that ebooks would eliminate print books. That hasn't happened. Now they're saying that audiobooks are going to replace both. I don't think that's going to happen either. I think people will always want a choice over what format they want, and that books will always exist and always be a great form of entertainment.
Well, that's great. Well, you've been a great guest. Thank you for your time today. And one more time, how can they get in touch with you?
1106design.com.
Well, great. Michele, thank you for your time today. You've been a great resource for anybody who's either in the world of publishing or a new person that needs to get their works out into the marketplace.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Amazing Authorities Podcast. If today's episode inspired you, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps more experts like you rise to the top. For behind-the-scenes access and free resources to boost your authority, head to MitchCarson.com. Until next time, stay amazing.